I used to say like all my friends were saying dirty words, and I thought I'd try it one time until I started saying things like grass stain.
Grass stain?
See, Leslie got it. Dirt. Mud pit.
That's funny.
What am I missing?
They're dirty words.
Oh. Now I'm embarrassed that was recorded.
That was funny.
Welcome back to the Ministry Without Hating It podcast, a ministry of Odyssey Haven coaching and counseling dedicated to the pursuit of answering the question, is it possible to do ministry without hating it? We have a theory that it just might be. I'm Chad. That's Brenton.
I'm Brenton.
I mean, I don't even have to introduce you anymore. You're just doing it.
I figured I should just jump in.
Anyway, how's it going?
It's going great.
Is it?
Going great, yeah.
We both have some, this is officially winter. This is actually the first official recording in 26 for us.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Even though it's, by the time people are hearing this, February.
Yeah.
But that's the magic of podcasting. You can record this whenever you want and save it for later.
Yep.
You're just full of it today. Full of energy, full of a lot of verbosity, and you're bringing the heat.
It'll come out. Yep.
It'll come out. Well, that's good. It actually does. Let me segue away from this. We just had a really great, they're all really great, but this is another one just to add to the compilation of interviews with our mutual friend, Pastor Lesli Klingenmeier. She talks about her ministry journey and even her role as a real passion for next gen or the next generation and that ministry, and has years of just wisdom and wealth that she unpacks, and actually is still doing it today, and even got me thinking things differently that I probably had not. I really, really enjoyed this interview. How about you?
I had a good time, and anytime we talk about kids ministry, children's ministry, youth ministry, I get excited because that's where I started as well. Yeah. And I'm still invested deeply in our next generation. Yeah.
It's good. I'm 100% on the same page with you. And I think we've talked enough because I'm trying to do the shortest intro we've ever had. And I don't think we hit it, but a goal to aspire to. So we are excited then now to present to you our conversation with our friend, Pastor Lesli Klingenmeier. Well, it is our privilege to welcome Pastor Lesli Klingenmeier to the Ministry Without Hating podcast. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Well, we'll see.
You always say that.
I always say that, and we always cut it. So that's fine. I don't care. That's my get my nervous energy out the way and just move on. So maybe we'll leave it. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. AJ's in charge of that. All right. We'd like to start off with some questions that have nothing to do with ministry, but inevitably lead us back to it because that's just what happens and they need to be asked. So describe yourself for us, especially for those who don't know you, in 3 words.
In 3 words, I would say that I am adventurous, intentional, and adventurous, intentional, and positive.
Positive. Okay. All right. So pull that out for us, if you would. Why did you choose those words specifically?
Adventurous, I am always up for something new, trying new things. I wouldn't say that I'm overly risky, but if there's a new place to travel to, a new restaurant to find, a new ride to ride, I am all about it. I don't like going to the same place twice. If we go to a new city, one of my rules is you cannot eat at a restaurant that you can have in your own hometown. So
yes, we have the same rule. That's a good one. Yeah, that's good.
I try that, but my kids like chicken nuggets too much.
Well, the good news is they make chicken nuggets literally every place.
Everywhere.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Mexican place, chicken nuggets. Let's go.
Chicken nuggets.
You said
right.
New Ride. Do you live near rides?
We do. We are season pass holders at Cedar Point.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah. So we are all in prestige pass holders where we got the meal plan,
Prestige. Wow.
the fast pass and all of that. So
Do they know you by name there? Like they just walk up, oh, Leslie's here. We know what she
there's
wants.
certain people we know that work there, especially in security. So it's always fun, going through security and they're all like with their stern face and then we see each other and hug it out. And so that's always kind of fun.
I think we just uncovered a new mission field, and
What's that?
I would have never thought an amusement park. Like you get it's a missional thing. You get to know them, and
Oh yeah,
and you get the benefits of going on rides and being a prestige, whatever you called it.
Yeah,
they have a prestige area where they have fire
Oh my
pits.
gosh.
So I have had times where I'm just hanging out at a fire pit next to the train and talking to people who mostly moms or dads that are waiting for their kids who are riding rides, and we have the best conversations.
I just officially realized I've been doing ministry wrong for a very long time. That's what just happened in that. That's incredible. Okay. So you said adventurous, but you also said intentional and positive.
Yes.
I think we can see the positive, but I'll let you pull all those out too.
Yeah, intentional. I just try to live life that way. I'm not one who does a lot of random stuff. Like I tend to start my day with a list that I've made the night before and found that when I stick to that, I'm not just completing more, but I'm actually allowing space for other things that might come up. So I've found that that has really worked for me, but also intentional in relationships too. Just seeing, who's kind of highlighted and trying to spend more time with those type of people and pretty intentional about life.
Yeah. And then the positive, like I said, we see some of it already, but what does that mean to you?
For me, I just think being any other way is so draining emotionally, spiritually, physically. And so I just always am a, half full cup type of person and feel like I'm very sensitive to like the criticism, negativity part of life. So I find that I'm always defaulting to even bringing conversations to, hey, did you look at it this way, or different things for perspectives.
So if we can pause on that for a second, because I think that's really important, especially on a podcast called Ministry Without Hating It. There's maybe I'll just say a tendency. How about that? To maybe necessarily not always have that positive outlook. So when it comes to, especially as you're leading others, I really like that. Like, I want to try to maybe direct the conversation to something a little bit more positive. What have you found? We're gonna jump right in. What have you found helpful when it comes to keeping that at the forefront and to be able to actually even say, no, this is not just something that I try to do. This is something that really describes me and who I am.
Yeah. I think the core of that for me is that understanding that there's always another side to a story. And so I think a lot of times people get caught up in their experience or perspective in things. And so there's not this acknowledgement like, hey, there might be reasons for what just happened. So I feel like that's where the positivity comes in a lot. Like, hey, let's always look, what could the other side of that story be? Because somewhere between the two is the truth. And so I feel like that tends to bring the positive spin to things. It changes people's outlook on things. Like, oh, I didn't think about that part of it.
Yeah. Well, huh. I'm not sounding like, I'm saying it like, whoa, I get to be positive now. I can figure it out. I think it's more of I think of like even just maybe even recent interactions as you're leading people, and especially as they're walking through their own thing and helping others to maybe to be able to actually identify, like what you just said, that there's always another side to that, and what else could be going on, even if it's not necessarily a good thing. What could be the good thing within that? I just it's a simple thing, but it's really profound.
We say it around here, like, just look up. Look up.
Yeah.
Get your head out of the sand and look up a little bit.
Yeah.
See what's going on. And that's kind of our focus word that we use to bring it. But same thing, like, think differently about the situation you're in. Yeah.
So Lesli, when you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, so I live in, we call it the bedroom community of Cleveland, Ohio, and we are the last suburb, about a half hour outside of the city. And so right beyond us is a rural area. But I had always thought I wanted to live in a big city and work in a skyscraper. So this was when I was really young, before I totally realized how challenging that is, and totally not what I would want my life to be. But I think I saw myself when I was young, more in like a business kind of thing, like the whole thing of, riding the train or the bus into the city and to work and things like that. Really, I don't know why, it was just something that I was drawn to. But then as I grew up, then I was more drawn to the medical field. So actually went to college as a biology major, thinking I wanted to be an optometrist. So, but that only lasted 1 year because I got C's in chemistry, and I knew that it was only going to get harder from there. So I changed quickly out of being a doctor.
Okay. And you pivoted to, have you pivoted full on to ministry, or I feel like there's more to that?
Yeah. So well, it actually goes back farther, because I did feel called to ministry when I was a teenager, because I grew up in the Foursquare Church here, went to camps, from kids camp through youth camps. And every summer I was that kid that's like, yes, I want to go to Bible college. I want to go to the mission field, all of those things. And I remember coming home with a strong feeling of that after my junior year of high school. And my parents basically said, we want you to get a real career. And so whatever that meant.
Sorry. I don't know why that made me laugh so hard. That's so funny. Keep going.
It was.
Keep going.
It was a real career. So I remember that I wasn't completely upset about that. It was like, oh, okay, plan B. So I went on to a Christian college, Grove City College in Pennsylvania. It was a great experience. And as I said, started out as a biology major, then changed to psychology, because I had discovered the field of occupational therapy, which is a lot like physical therapy, work in rehab hospitals and different things. And so I was essentially using my psychology degree to get to graduate school, because my dad was not happy about me being a psychology major. That was about on the same level as going to Bible college, getting a psychology
Still not a real
degree.
Career. Wow.
Right. It's not.
Okay. All right. All right.
I did end up, I went to Western Michigan University, got my graduate degree in occupational therapy, and then came out of that and worked for about, it was just a couple years into that. And I just really heard from the Lord that this question arose in me, which I think happens a lot with people when God's starting to kind of unsettle you. And that question was, there's got to be more to life than this. And I just could not shake that. Even though I had bought a house, my car was paid for, I had gone on vacations in the Caribbean where me and friends had rented a sailboat. Like, I totally had it mapped out of what I was going to be, a rehab director and all those things. But God used that unsettledness then for me to just pretty much say, Lord, whatever it is that you want me to do. And I had gone to a youth summit, and I think this is where a lot of my passion for Next Gen came in. And the theme of that summit was give it up. And so here I am wrestling with, like, there's got to be more to life than this. And then the word is give it up. And I came home from that. I was a youth leader at that point, not serving at the church, just through the youth ministry. And I said, Lord, whatever it might be, because now I was financially independent. I think that's something, when I feel like when your parents are still paying for your cell bill and you're living in their basement and things like that, like, you're really dependent on them. So I was financially independent, able to do what I wanted to. And the first opening that came up, I mean, I went to a couple Bible colleges to see if that felt right, mission organizations. And the only opening, or the first opening that came up, was in part-time kids ministry position here at my home church. And at that point, I did part-time OT, part-time kids ministry for about 2 years, and then was fully into the ministry here.
So were you still, so you were fully doing that. Were you still doing the occupational therapy as well? Or was it just, nope, we're done.
Yeah,
we're full on in.
I did. I had actually switched to home health. So I did therapy in people's homes, which gave me a lot of flexibility in my schedule. So for about 2 years, did both part-time, and then came to our pastor and said, I feel like I'm not doing either of them very well, so I'm going to have to choose. And I essentially said, if the church could just pay my basic bills, I would do this. I would give my all for this. And they were able to do that. So I laugh. I'm like, man, I took a 2/3 cut in salary, but you know what? There was a settledness, there was peace, there was excitement, there was purpose, there was all those things. And of course, my family thought I was crazy. My dad had passed away by then, but remember, I took my mom out for breakfast because I knew this was not going to be an easy conversation for her, because she was very proud of the fact that she had a daughter that had a master's in occupational therapy and was working at our hospital. And I remember she said to me, which was so wise, she said, the only thing I ask of you is that you never give up your license. And I said, all right, I can do that. And that honestly has been key for me, because I feel like the Lord really gave my parents wisdom in that whole, like, get a real career thing, because I have never felt like I've had to depend on the church for my finances, because I always knew, and some people could say, well, then you're not really depending on God if you're depending on this other career where you can make money. But I'm like, no, I feel like God completely set me up in this. And so I did a little bit, call it PRN, as needed work, through those lean years a little bit, and then was able to be totally full-time in ministry for about a good 20 years. But then I had come back after having a Next Gen district role. And, the church here, they're like, we would love to have you on staff, but we can't really pay you. And I'm like, that's all right. So I jumped right back into doing home health occupational therapy for the last 4 or 5 years. And then the church, I'm back on staff, and they're able to supplement some. So just, it's amazing, I guess, almost to be at this age where I can look back and see practically where God was setting things up back when I was 16 years old to take care of me where I am now.
Yeah. There's so much there I want to pull out. And I think we've officially pivoted out of those silly questions. There is one I'm going to save to the very end. Oh. It's an undying question, and we'll get to that at the very end. So
all right,
that's a tease for the listeners to actually stick out through this. But for those that don't know, why don't we start at where you're at, and we can walk back just a little bit. So what do you currently consider the ministry to be that you're a part of right now? Like, what is your role when it comes to
Yeah.
what you consider to be ministry?
Yeah. So my role at the church is I call myself the utility pastor. So when I came back,
Okay.
I
Okay.
said, wherever's needed, and that has evolved through the years. So started out leading small groups because they needed some attention to that. And we developed some videos and a small group curriculum. So I was over that. And then just as things evolved, our women's ministry developed. And so I lead the team for our women's ministry. And then I am also the children's pastor, but try to do more of that as leading teams. So,
Okay.
and speak sometimes. So definitely have my hands in a lot of different things.
A utility for sure. That's a. And are you still bivocational? Would you consider yourself, or like you still do the other stuff on the side?
Yeah, so I was up until last year, I was doing part-time occupational therapy with a local company, home health again. And when you talk about ministry, that was ministry. Um, Going into
Yeah.
people's homes, most of my patients were elderly, lived by themselves. I would go in, and my skills as an OT may not be the best, but I feel like my personal skills and ability to build relationship with people quickly and encourage them, to me, that was the ministry part of my job, because many times I was
Yeah.
the only person they would see for days on end. And so I would
Oh
just
wow.
come
Okay.
in, sit on the couch, ask them about their children. I would look at pictures on the wall and say, "Are these your grandchildren?" Almost, again, ministry skills used in the marketplace of how do I listen well, try to listen well and ask questions. And by the end, it would be one of those situations where people would say, "I have no idea why I just told you all of that." And I think to myself, I know why.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
doing a little bit now. Things are really growing here at our church, so it's requiring more of my attention. So I'm not doing as much occupational therapy, but I think I will always keep a visit or two a week. Just I love being out in people's homes and being out with people.
Yeah. Well, so I want to maybe draw back to something you said that was wisdom from your parents, and sounds like you're seeing it within that. The benefits. Tell us maybe why you see it as wisdom now, especially being able to look back, and then even as you're still trying to engage and keep that, because it's not like you're not doing something else when it comes to maybe what others would see as like the traditional church, role working. Um, we call that the pastor catch-all is what I would call that, not necessarily
Yeah.
utility. Like you got your hands in everything, which I'm sure is a huge blessing to your team there, but maybe pulling it back a little bit, what are the benefits that you see? Because, and I want to maybe preface it with this. Oftentimes you hear that the goal is to get to full time, or if you're vocationally,
Yeah.
that's all you do, like you're doing it right, or you're successful, or that type of thing. And pretty often, and I don't hear it as much, but I think people feel like that's the pinnacle or the goal. But you're saying, no, actually, that's not it. Would you maybe pull that out, that wisdom
Yeah.
within that for us?
Yeah. Real practically in the field of occupational therapy, the whole theory behind it is activity based. Like, here's the problem: somebody's had a stroke. Here's the goal: we want them to be able to feed themselves. Now, this will be a little bit of education about the difference between physical and occupational therapy. A physical therapist would look
No, that's
at
good.
that
That's
and
good.
set them up on an exercise program. That's their field. Occupational therapy comes in and says, okay, what activities can I engage you in so you don't even realize that you're developing the skill to be able to feed yourself or to use your
That's
left
good.
arm now instead of your right and compensate for that. And I feel like those are the same skills that I use specifically in children's ministry. here's
Mhm.
Yeah,
here's where
that's
you
good.
are. Here's where we want you to be, or where we feel God wants you to be. How can I help facilitate getting you there in a way that engages you in your body, mind, spirit? How can I make this fun? How can I make this relational? And so I just see the wisdom in, I never went to Bible college, but the skills that I had that God used in training my mind in ministry are completely different than, for sure, people on my staff. Or people will say, "Man, I can't believe you're so creative." And I'm like, because they're like, "How do you do that?" And I'm like, I don't know, but I feel like I was very much trained. It's just how I think. So I think God uses just so many different avenues to get us
Yeah,
to where He
yeah,
knows we're going to have impact and influence in the kingdom. And so that is definitely a huge part for me. And, I've never been one that aspired to things like you were saying, like getting to the pinnacle. It seems like as I just
sure.
a big statement I used with teenagers that I led in a leadership program we had for students was just take the next right step. And so by doing
Okay.
that, because I think maybe when you're in more of a ministry track, you like educationally, you're seeing kind of those next steps. Whereas I
Yeah.
was kind of like naive to all that. I'm just like, Lord, okay, what do you want me to do? Oh, it's children's ministry. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. I don't even have any nieces or nephews. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. My first night,
Yeah,
Wednesday night,
yeah.
10 kids sitting in a circle. And I thought, I have made the biggest mistake of my life. I was like, what have I
Yeah.
done?
Said
I
every
just
next
gave
gen
up.
leader. That's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So yeah, I think there was a advantage in not really knowing that there was any kind of path for ministry that I was aspiring to. So not having that linear kind of what would be next. So I've always just gone by that philosophy of, Lord, just lead me in the next right step. And then wherever that step is, and it seems like God's always brought people to me. I've never had to go out and promote myself or feel the pressure of that, because God's just been really faithful in doing that for me.
Yeah, I think that's really great wisdom when you think of thanks to the nonlinear, but also the idea that I never actually looked at that as something that needed to support me. It's almost
Mm-hmm.
the reverse of what can I do to support the ministry that God has placed in front of me.
Yeah.
And whenever I think of you know my times in bivocational ministry, those were the biggest advantages, because it was no longer even a financial burden on the ministry, but it actually freed me up to be able to maybe fully engage that without where's that going to come from,
Mm-hmm.
hanging over my head.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It took a lot of pressure off, especially being single in ministry. I don't have a spouse that I can rely on. Like this is truly depending on the Lord for how He's going to provide. And He's done that in such an amazing
Yeah.
way through whether it be occupational therapy or other things that I get to do or hear from the church.
So it sounds like ministry has several hats for you. I want to push into one that you've talked about a few times now, specifically that of next gen ministry, and double clicking even more specifically, even children's ministry. What's the age range that you would define that?
Yeah, I oversee nursery through fifth grade, but I would say that my sweet
Okay.
spot is more kindergarten through fifth grade. So that's where I spend most of my time.
Okay. And where so you said sweet spot, where does that passion come from, or why is that when you say, okay, I know next gen is a broad term, and then even elementary can be a broad term. Why is that the focus or the passion point for you?
Yeah, I absolutely love seeing things come to fruition. So, for example, and I love doing this with interns that we have and other people on our team, is sitting around a table, praying and just saying, Lord, show us what you want, whether it be direction for the next year, an event that we're doing, camp, whatever it might be. And then allowing him to just download ideas and then kind of work those things through. And then the joy that there is, and this can be in individual kids or standing at an event in the midst of it and realizing that you had some part to play. Like before it was even written down on paper, it was this speck of an idea and this urge from the Holy Spirit, and then you get to see it happen. And I think I just love that part of it. I love the energy that there is in kids ministry, that they're adventurous. They're willing to try anything. Yeah. And so they're not critical. They're like, hey, whatever you plan for us, we're doing it. And so I think that's my joy in elementary. And you just see so much growth and change in kids from the time they're 5 years old to 12 years old. And to get to be a part of that, I think is probably why I enjoy that the most.
Well, I think of ministry, that's a lot of like when and it doesn't matter how old, like that, those are some of those moments that keep bringing you back to ministry, that you're wanting to, like, I want to continue to see that. You've been doing this for a pretty long time. I'm assuming even within that age range, and I've worked with you at a denominational level. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, but what do you contribute to your resiliency, not just within ministry, but that ministry specifically? Because I feel like I was a youth pastor at one point, and I think, could I do that today? No, I don't have the energy for that. So, I mean, how have you found yourself able to be resilient within that?
Yeah, I really think part of it is I truly love and enjoy the kids. I love their personalities. I love their quirkiness. I love their little jokes. And I thoroughly enjoy spending time with them. And I think that has really helped me through the years. Especially as you get older, I've noticed my energy level isn't quite there yet as it was and things like that, but there's still a joy in just being with them. And I also think there's an advantage for me because I'm not their parent. I don't have kids of my own.
Yeah. Okay. So I see where you're going here. Keep going. Yes.
I am able to give all of my patience and that to them because I don't need a reserve for, let's say, my own family. So I think there's advantages that I see in that have helped me in kids ministry as well. But I think it really just comes down to I just love seeing them grow. I love their personalities, and so it's still fun for me.
Yeah. So kind of maybe a side question with that those that are in that particular ministry right now, and maybe they don't have the same context that you do, and even like you had mentioned, you don't have kids of your own, and you have maybe a little more bandwidth. What would you speak, or have you even encouraged those on your team when it comes to staying resilient within that and making sure that it's still fun for them?
Yeah, right. I think part of it for me in leading our team is that we're always talking about stories, and I'm wanting them to see the impact that they're making. So we're always, even if they weren't there that week, if they're serving once a month and the second week there was something that happened in kids where they had an encounter with the Lord or something we'd been praying for. There's an excitement that the Lord answered their prayer. I try to make sure that we're always sharing the stories and that they know that they've had ownership in that. Because I think one of the biggest problems in kids ministry is that you don't see things, you don't get that immediate gratification that you might get in other ministries. And so there can be a toiling that happens because you're planting those seeds, you're watering, you're doing all that. and you don't see much fruit coming at the time. So anytime there's you got to be sharing those stories, but also it's the little things as well. In the nursery, if a baby comes in and that week they only cried for 3 minutes instead of their regular 5 minutes,
Sure.
It's a win.
the win. You got to
Count 'em all.
highlight the small wins, and I think that's where the positivity comes in. Like we're realistic. Like it's very challenging, and I like to say I had a first tour of duty in kids ministry for about 12 years, and then I had my district next general for 10 years, and now that I'm back in the last 3 or 4 years, like things have really changed, and so it's requiring more of us in terms of the care and support and things for the kids.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to put a pin in that and come back to it real quick. But I wanted to just point out the importance of celebrating the wins and how that's a thing for any type of ministry that you're doing. Because if you're not able to even quantify, and I'm not talking numbers, I'm talking like what does a win actually look like? And that was something even here at a church-wide level that I needed to take a step back and actually be able to walk our team through, because if I couldn't identify those wins, then I didn't know if we were actually doing A, what we were supposed to be doing, but also B, if this is actually, if it matters, and going back to what you said way back at the beginning, there's always another side to the story. That makes sense within this exact same thing of, this is tough. This has been hard. But the other side of the story is we can celebrate these things that have been taking place. That's really, really profound. I think that's, if any ministry leader who is listening right now could grab that portion, I do think that contributes a lot to the resiliency in ministry, period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And knowing that they've had a piece in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That what I do matters. You had mentioned, this was the pin point. So the first tour of duty, years ago within children's ministry, and then having re-engaged that within the last, I think you said 5 years specifically.
Yeah.
So what, you said things are different. I'm always fascinated to hear leaders who've been doing this for a long time and go, yeah, it's different. And this is that. And not only are you like looking at it from the outside going, yeah, that's different. Good luck with that. You're actually, you're in it. So what are the biggest changes that you're seeing? And then I'm curious how you're actually approaching those things.
Yeah. So, I remember back in the day, and this was like through the 2000s up until 2010, that decade, we would run like a Wednesday night program, and kids would come and there would be energy, but I would have people ask me, they would say, how do you handle discipline issues in your classrooms?
Yes.
And I would say, we don't really have any. So I wouldn't really have much answers for them. And and it was the same, like I would say that it was because of our structure and different things like that. And we had small group leaders. But now when I came back, that was what I knew. That's what worked. And so you default back to what you know and what has worked. And I found out really quickly that was not working as much. So I think the changes are, we do have definitely more special needs kids than we ever had before. A portion of kids with autism that require more, they're very sensory sensitive. So having to work with that. But even in our other kids, there's been more behavioral issues. And I don't know, I can't say where that's coming from, but it's nothing for me to be up there talking and 3 kids will just come up and start talking to me. And I'm kind of like, are you aware that what's happening here?
Read the room.
Read the room, right? Or just
I don't care if you're 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or get up and just leave the room. And we're like, hey, where are you going? And so that that has been challenging. I've found that I have to be more, I wouldn't say, probably just more firm in establishing the guidelines every week for them and reminding them. And also I've started reminding them why we're here. Like, we're not a school, so we're not here to teach you to read. We're not your sports team, so this isn't practice. We're here because we believe God has a plan and purpose for your life, and we're going to help you be who God wants you to be. So I'm having to remind them over and over again about that. And I just had a great conversation about this with some of our leaders the other day, and we were talking about the effect that AI is having on children, even in church. And the word cynicism came up, that they're cynical about everything. It's that whole, like, is that real? We're not, there's more doubt. And I had not seen that before, but I'm starting to see it in kids. Like, we'll put up a picture of something and their first question right away is that real? Or I'll tell a story from the Bible, and it'll be, say, Jonah and the whale, like this phenomenal story. And they're like, yeah, but was that really real? And I just see, like, that it's a dangerous trend that we need to be aware of in helping kids through that.
That's okay. That kind of blows my mind a little bit when I think, because it's maybe something that I probably would have never really put two and two together. But specifically when you think of, like, how kids come with this sense of wonder already on a lot of things. And when I would, my kids are in the teens now, but I don't think I would have ever at any point labeled them as having any bit of cynicism, just even 10 years ago. And obviously things have accelerated a lot in the last, 10 years and even more. But at the same time, that's a really fascinating thought of, like, we talk about they're dealing with things that we didn't have to deal with. That's a real, like, tangible, practical thing that it's affecting the sense of wonder, which is ultimately can undermine that faith that you're trying to reinforce within them. That's crazy. I almost need a second to, like, whoa, I just didn't quite think of that.
We have a saying around, we have a lot of sayings, but one of them is, as we're teaching our kids, everything in the Bible is totally true. Just to help set a foundation of, like, there might be fakes over here, but everything in the Bible, totally true. And let's unpack what that looks like. And with our kids, that's been one of the things that's helpful when they ask things like, is this true? We can go, well, remember what we say here. These are things that have been tried and tested over a long period of time. And we can look back and go, God is faithful always. It's totally true.
Yeah, that's good. That's well, and even just as simple as, like, even this last Sunday, we're walking through a book and reminding people this is actual history. This isn't stories that you're reading about. This actually happened. You can look back even historically, and there's proof that this was real. But the idea of just, like, AI and all these deep fakes and all the fun things that that are out there, to be able to go, is that really real? That just hits on a different level for me for some reason. That's really, really interesting.
Yeah, because it definitely bleeds over in kids. And I think even the cynicism that comes from their parents now, with all the turmoil that's in the world, it affects our kids without people realizing the conversations they're having, or what's on the news, or whatever kids are being seen and being influenced by. Yeah.
So what's Miss Positivity here? What is the other side of what's the other side of the story for that? Like, we're talking about, the challenge, but also maybe the opportunity that we have.
Yeah, definitely an opportunity. And I think part of that is what Brenton had said. We do that as well. Like, we believe this. The Bible is true in every way. And I think a big thing for me is the big story. like the Bible starting in Genesis, and how do we connect Genesis through the Bible, and that put yourself in this story. And, I love Christmas time because we can go back to Isaiah and see all the prophecies about the coming king. And then we go to Matthew, and then this king is born. So the more that we can show how God fulfills his promises, because still, even for them, heaven is such an abstract concept.
Sure.
That someday, Jesus, in the blink of an eye, Jesus is going to return. They're like, really? But if I can show them, but look, Jesus said this and it happened. Jesus predicted this about his death and it happened. And then I think that helps to counteract and bring validity in their minds for the truth.
That's good. Yeah, that's really good. Well, and once again, I think I say this over and over again, Next Gen ministry is not this siloed thing that, really the kids just get older and some of these mindsets and these things stay. And so there's a lot of what you're saying that I can go, oh, that makes sense at any level, at any age, because they're obviously it's going to look different and the context is going to be different of how they even receive it. And that's even their journey is going to be different than what it was, when they were children. But it's that simple baseline thing that we bring it back to the truth of, this is real. This is real.
Mm-hmm. And the earlier we can set those foundations in place, sets them up for just their foundations and faith for the rest of their life.
Good. So we solved all the problems, everybody.
Yeah, let's do it.
Podcast. Yes. That was good. All right. So I want to maybe pivot away just a little bit because we've highlighted and hinted at, and this is actually where I got to meet you. But there was a season of time where you were working for the Foursquare denomination. What did you call yourself? Because I had 3 different titles during the 8 to 10 years that I did it. I was a Next Gen director. I was a Next Gen coordinator. I was a Next Gen facilitator at one point. They weren't using the fancy word mobilizer yet.
Right.
That was for nowadays. But what did you call yourself, or what were you called during your time?
Settled on coordinator. So Next Gen coordinator. Yeah.
Okay. And what did that, for those who aren't aware, and this is in a different season of even Foursquare structure, but what did that look like, or what was the role for you?
Yeah. So I was based, our district office for my first 5 years, because I did it for 10 years, was here in my hometown because my former pastors became the supervisors. So that was really convenient. And
nice.
and then 5 years later, our district expanded. So we had been the Mid-Atlantic, which had, I think, we ended up with, I think 15 states altogether, 15 and a half if we count Washington, D.C. But then 5 years into it, our district office moved to Frederick, Maryland, and I continued on, but then I became remote, which was neat. I love the fact that they let me stay in Ohio and do the job. So I got to help coordinate trainings for young adult, youth, and kids ministries, coordinated camps, make sure we had all of our camps in place, led those teams, got to lead a little bit through COVID. So doing a lot of Zoom calls and different things to help people navigate through all of that. But I think, I went with the 3 E's. We encourage, equip, and empower the people that worked in kids, youth, and young adult ministry.
Bonus points for the pastoral alliteration. We're big components of that. So
E3.
E3. That's
Yep.
Oh, pastors we're so fun. I just love it. I just love it. No. Okay, so looking back on that season, and actually before you jumped on, I was telling these guys here, how I met you, and that we were on national teams together because I represented the Heartland District, and so we would have calls. They're either monthly or we'd get together, 2 or 3 times a year. And I remember specifically for you, so and I'm not going to name any names, but you might know who I'm talking about. There were just larger personalities that would be in those meetings, and sometimes they would overtake conversation, or it was, whatever. That
Yeah.
I want to make sure that you hear what I have to say. And you were often, I would say, quiet, but it was more of a quiet confidence of like, I don't need to be in that fray. But I told them, I said, whenever you did speak, though, it was like, nope, I've got something to say, and it was real wisdom and authority. So
Thank
when
you.
you look back, you're welcome. Thank you. I learned a lot from you in that season. By the way, guys, she was there before I got there, and then she was there after I left.
I
So like, I
did.
think you were probably the longest tenured next gen coordinator
I
in
think
that
I
season
was in that
of Foursquare
season.
Structure.
Yeah.
No, listen, that's a badge of honor. I don't
Yes.
care. There were some that I don't think they lasted a year. I don't even remember. Like they were in and out, and Lesli just kind of our constant through the whole thing. But when you look back on that season, though, what were some things that stood out to you when it came to? I mean, you can use the 3 E's that were really relevant during that season, but also you'd look back and go, yeah, that still makes sense today.
Yeah. I think for me, the value of teams. I sometimes, and historically in that role, it would be a male that was very much an upfront kind of speaker and who would be doing the camps, the summits, would definitely be the headliner, so to speak.
Yeah.
And me coming in, I knew that was not my strength. Like I can do it for sure, but there were others that I always wanted to give opportunity to others.
Yeah.
And there were even times I had somebody who ended up being a friend kind of confront me in the whole like you're too humble type thing. And I was like,
Okay.
I don't think so. Like I don't need to be known. I feel like I'm doing a good job if I can sit back and just me and that person knows the hours that we spent together getting them ready to be that camp speaker, or that worship team, the hours that we spent on the phone talking about what does it mean to lead worship in a way that fits our context and culture. And so I think going into that season, I had to really wrestle with, man, I don't know that I'm the person for this, but I think I just knew my strength was going to be in empowering others. And so there were many times that I was able to just sit back at different events and things because I had really good people in place who this could be the launching pad for them. And it's awesome. If I could just give a little bit a piece of that. I had this, we called it Soul Fire, and that was probably the thing I loved the best. And what we did, I felt like the Lord, when I started, he said, there's hidden gems in your district. There are kids in small churches that nobody sees, and they have incredible gifts. So I was all about giving opportunities. So we would assemble this team of kids. They applied, interviewed, did the whole thing. We'd have about 12 of them, and we would do 3 camps a summer, and we would travel together. And this was a good 10, years ago, more than that, 10 to 12 years ago. Well, now the church staff that I'm on, we have 4 of those Soul Fire students that are on our team.
Amazing.
Our
awesome.
Worship leader, who's phenomenal. They're turning 30 years old now. But the other, basically, he's our communications guy that runs everything here and our youth director now. And I feel like I'm still in that phase where I just sit back and watch them. And it'll be fun to sit around the lunch table sometimes and the stories will come up. And somebody that's new would be like, hey, you knew them back when they were teenagers? And they'd be like, oh, yeah, she knew us when. And so I think the value in that season for me was I had to be myself. I couldn't be anybody else. And to see the fruit that's lasting, I'm not as involved in district things now, but I'll catch it on Facebook or at district conferences, and the things, these students that I got to have some influence in their lives, the things that they're doing, it's like Jesus said, they'll do greater things than you. And
Yeah.
it's such a joy at this stage of ministry to watch these late 20s, 30s-year-olds walk into what God has for them.
I love that. I'm all about, that's a lot of the same philosophy I had in that role as well. I wasn't as upfront as well. It was kind of the same thing. And something I used to say and still do, for those that, you're trying to empower and to send and to really see them step into those things, is that, the whole point is that you'll be better than I am, that you will, you'll take even the things that you get to watch me misstep and go, no, don't do that. That would be good. And that's going to help you down the line. And you get to actually take what even, I muddled through as well, and be better. And to do, like you said, I love that, quoting Jesus, do greater things, right? It's so true. It's so true. In fact, I want to, if I can just point out too, even you talked about how you're running and able to be the utility catch-all pastor that you are, there is a lot of that probably same thing that you're doing, that you're taking and go, I'm going to empower them to go and to do these things as well. And that's worth celebrating.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun season.
That's, I love, maybe it's the positivity speaking. I love that you keep using that word fun, specific to whether it's the season, the ministry that you're doing, the ministry that you are a part of. Positivity is important, I think.
Yes, I agree.
Throw that out there. You agree?
It seems like there's probably something to that.
It's like, so don't be grumpy. Got it.
That's right.
Got it. What the 3 E's again? They were encourage, empower. What was the third one?
Equip, encourage, equip, empower.
Okay. Speak to that. We didn't really talk a whole lot about that one. I don't want to let that fly. But when it comes to equipping those that are on team, or even those that maybe you're ministering to, what does that mean for you, and how do you apply that?
Yeah, for me, it's very much relationally. And so it's not as much of, hey, here's this like 10 steps to walk through. It's more, again, that telling stories and bringing up scenarios and giving opportunity, and then making sure that we debrief about that in a way that's encouraging as well, so that it's instilling confidence in people. Yeah. Because especially in kids ministry, you get your willing moms and people that come into it like, I don't really know what I'm doing. And so to be able to instill confidence in them and for them to feel that to me is the goal of equipping.
Yeah, it's so funny. I think back, there's many things that you have said and done, that I'm just like, I'm taking that. You did a video for us, you and actually it was Harriet, who was your supervisor. Yeah. And it was about relational discipleship and specifically walking through. And you guys unpacked how that's what she did with you, essentially, that it was just kind of that walking through, you met. But I remember in the video, you're like, I don't even think we read a book together. It was just that very much, life on life, debriefing, scenario, empowering thing that you're talking about. Yeah. And I think sometimes I bring this up because I think, when we're trying to develop other leaders or we're trying to empower, we almost overcompensate and make the simple complicated. And what you're saying really is, it's Jesus's model as well. It was the same thing. He wasn't like, I need you to read 50 pages by the time we get to, wherever. It was just walking with and empowering and imparting that which you have learned, and that kind of a thing. So good, Lesli. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, and I think you bring up a good point. I think I can do that because I was mentored so well. And Harriet Maurer is definitely an icon in our Foursquare world. And the fact that I had a front row seat and was brought along through here, she opened doors for me. She did everything that I want to do for others. And even now she's retired, and we just had a phone conversation the other day, and it was back like I was 25 years old again, just gleaning and her encouraging me. So it was such a gift that I don't want to waste that. Like, I want to be able to do that for others.
That's amazing. That's so good. This has been really good, Lesli, and I want to say thank you for your time. But I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want.
Yes.
And this is the question that we've been talking about from the very beginning. First of all, do you know who the Spice Girls are? I feel like I have to preface this, unfortunately.
Yes. That's back in the era.
Oh no. I hear some of the hesitancy already. Okay. How oh my gosh. How well do you know the Spice
Not
Girls?
real well. Just know of them.
Not real well.
Yeah.
You just know of them. So if I were to just ask, do you think they were a good team? You would say,
yeah, I think so.
Oh,
they probably made a lot of money.
Yeah. That's the mark of a good team.
Yeah. They're still being talked about today.
They're on a podcast about ministry. Great.
Only Chad is talking about them, really.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a faithful listener who happens to have my info, and so she reached out even yesterday, funny enough, and just said, "You just need to own that you're a fan." And I would say I don't know if I would call myself a fan just because I know things, right? That doesn't make you a fan. Like, I'm not gonna get off of this and fire up the Spice Girls playlist that I've got.
You're not?
No? Are you?
You did say you had it, though.
No, I did not say that.
Yeah, I said the Spice
I use Apple
Girls
Music. There are all kinds of playlists on there. There is no, I didn't say. Now you're twisting my words, Lesli. Yeah. I need your help.
I'm anxious to see how the Spice Girls leads into this question.
They don't. That was the question, unfortunately. So we're gonna end. Yeah, that's how good that was. I'm gonna pivot away from the Spice Girls, maybe forever. We'll see. And this has become a reoccurring thing. That's why I'm asking you. If we've asked the last 3 guests, and nobody knows who they are or if they were a good team. You're at least able to say they made a lot of money, so
yeah,
they must have done something right.
Right. That's how I look at it.
I think I'm looking for a deeper unpacking and maybe
I don't know much more about them.
That's fine. Let's actually end on something. That's fine. Move away from that. And end on something on a positive note. When you're looking at ministry and maybe even, you mentioned where we're at, and instead of not just trying to put a positive spin on things, what are the things, or what is encouraging and inspiring to you as we look ahead to where God is leading us all next?
Yeah. I think that I am really encouraged by this younger generation, especially those that are in their graduating from high school 20s. I'm seeing a resurgence in them in terms of community and desiring to be together, to go deeper in the Word. So I'm encouraged by that. I'm also seeing them starting to serve. We're seeing an uptick of those young adults serving with our kids, and for them to be able to bring what has been invested in them, and now they're starting to give back in this way, that I think that's super encouraging to me. I'm encouraged in the fact that families, I feel, are starting to see the need for more spiritual input into their kids. I see more of a searching out for that, and an openness. I'm part of the Cornerstone Project as well, and talking to leaders across the country who are as they do surveys, and they're finding that the families want resources, they want guidance. And so it's been fun to be able to encourage our next gen leaders across the country. Like, they want to hear from you. They want what you have to offer them. So I just feel like there's lots of opportunities right now.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And it's real easy, I think, to just look at it and go, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Kind of a thing. But it really is just to, and not to keep bringing that up. I just really loved how you said that. What's the other side of the story there? What we see as challenges, God is like, those are the opportunities that you have before you. And it's going to look different. As you said, you've gotten to see several different seasons of ministry and what that looks like. And I have to commend how you're not jaded by any of that. And some of that is the positivity that you've kept ahead of you. But at the same time, you're just like, no, we've seen challenges before and these are different, but there's a lot of opportunity and God's doing a lot of things. And there are signs of life and continued and don't give up. And so I say thank you for that. That's a great reminder. And it's really encouraging.
Yes. Well, thank you guys for the opportunity to share today, be part of your discussion.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry that we asked some really dumb questions, but thank you for answering all the
You're good.
all the ones that weren't. And just the as I said before, just the continued wisdom that you have that God has placed inside you and that you continue to pass that on. We say thank you, and we're just so grateful for your time as well.
You're welcome. This was great.
Thanks again for listening to the podcast. If you'd like to connect further with our guest, we've made ways to do so available in the episode show notes. If you'd like to connect with us further, support the podcast, or sign up for show updates, just go to withouthatingit.com to get started. And don't forget to subscribe to Ministry Without Hating It wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss our future episode releases. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time.